All right, boys. Today we got a good video. We know that because one, it's a Jimmy High Roller video. Two, it's about the GOAT himself. Actually, before we even get started, I'm gonna throw on my Dirk jersey. I'm gonna throw on my Dirk jersey real quick, chat, real quick. Peep the jersey, chat. She's a little bit damaged. I know she's a little bit damaged. All right, chat. Number one Mavs fan is here. She's a little bit beat up. Don't worry about it, though. When you're the best player in the world and no one cares, gotta give it a like already. All right. Jersey's on. We're locked in. Here we go, chat.
What do you call a player who is averaging 34, 9, and 10 a game on
The GOAT.
52% true shooting? The face of the NBA? The
Yes.
best basketball player in the world?
Yes.
How about the player who is fourth on the NBA's MVP leaderboard at the moment?
Ridiculous.
10 years ago, these numbers would have had a player in conversations as the greatest basketball player ever, let alone
Nigga, if somebody was putting up Luka's numbers back in the days, bro, it's over. No question about it.
the
treating
MVP
that
for a
nigga like he's
season.
MJ.
But now this stat line hardly even earns you a shot to become the league's most valuable player.
That's crazy.
Lately, I've been paying close attention to how the MVP race is playing out this season, and it's going about how you would expect.
Joker.
The season started out with Jokic leading the race, coming off a very controversial decision last season.
Nigga Tatum
Then Joel
dipped off the
Embiid
board.
morphed into a basketball god for 2 months and buried all hopes of anyone else winning the award.
Yo, those 2 months of Joel Embiid cooking, oh my gosh. Yo, chat, he was just dropping back to back to back to back banger games.
And then
Like,
he
he was
got hurt,
bugging.
and Jokic jumped back out in front and has held the top spot ever since.
And
with
reserve.
currently
And he's good,
SGA in second and Giannis in third. But as I was going over the timeline of the race this season, one thing jumped
SGA snuck in there too. SGA got a little shiesty and snuck up in there.
Why is Luka
like
Doncic so
SGA.
low? I'm going back and looking at some of his performances and his numbers from this season, and yep, I'm going back and looking at some of his performances and
Chat, come on now. Top 5 games played in the NBA already. 100. Wilt Chamberlain, Kobe, Wilt again, and then Luka, bro. Come on now.
numbers from this season, and yep, they're still completely unreal. So why is he all the way
gosh.
in 4th place at the moment? Have voters gone on a Luka strike? They all just collectively decided
They
they're
must
not going
have,
to vote
man.
for him? I don't know, maybe his play style is just too polarizing to reward. His
Chat, I vote for Luka every day on the MVP. I vote for Luka to be MVP every day.
right now is often compared to
Wake up
prime
and
James
vote for
Harden,
him.
and we all know how that turned out. But even Harden and all of his antics still won an MVP award. On the NBA's last weekly recap
Love
of the race,
Harden.
it seems they've taken a strong stance on his chances of winning the award up to this point. Sorry, Mavs fans, but the standings matter. We understand he scored 25 plus points in 9 straight games. But flashy highlights and massive numbers aside, Doncic needs to lift Dallas out of play-in tournament territory to climb near the top of this list.
That's so
But
crazy.
that isn't true, is it? In fact, I know it's not, because other players have won just as many games as Luka is winning this season, with worse numbers and less individual dominance, and they still went on to win the MVP. Luka Doncic is being held to a higher standard than anyone else right now. And I think we might be looking at the MVP award and how we've...
Ah, and 1! Oh my god, and 3!
Today's video is sponsored by... At an promo code DraftKings. By his second season, immediately leapfrogged all the assumptions we had about his game and his potential. By his second season, his 29 points, 9 rebounds, and 9 assists a game earned him first-team All-NBA and a 4th place finish in the MVP voting at just 21 years old.
Oh my
By the end of
gosh.
his second season, the general perception was that this guy was the future of the NBA. An MVP award was inevitable, and it would happen sooner than later. But Luka is now in his 6th season in the league, and despite getting better nearly every single season, his place on the MVP leaderboard has only fallen virtually every season.
so
Voters
crazy,
seeming to
bro.
become less and less interested in this Luka magic. How did Luka...
There's no way to become less interested in the Luka magic. It only gets better. It only gets better from here, chat. I keep telling everybody, bro.
Like, you guys think he's done some crazy stuff now, bro? He's already breaking your favorite players' records, like, damn near every game without y'all even realizing it, bro. He's
Best
bugging.
case for the most valuable player in the NBA come in just his second season and has only gone downhill since. Are we looking at the MVP award all wrong? Is it even possible for someone to be the most valuable player in the NBA while not elevating their team to a title contender? A question not applying to just Luka, but to any player in general. Where exactly is the balance between individual dominance and team success when evaluating the top talents in the NBA? If the Nuggets ran into some injuries and had a tough stretch of games and somehow fell to the 7th seed, would we be willing to admit that Nikola Jokic is still the best and most valuable player in the league despite the lack of team success?
Yo, this nigga Jimmy is really spitting.
Is it possible to get voter fatigue or even player fatigue before a player has even won anything? Here's a number for you, 41.8. This is the number you get if you combine the average points, rebounds, and assists per game of every MVP winner over the last 30 years. This season, Luka is averaging 53.2 combined points, rebounds, and assists, the highest combined total since Kareem over 50 years ago in 1972.
Yo, what? 53.2 points, rebounds, assists. There's no way. Like, it's actually undeniable that he's MVP, bro. Like, the stats show it. The stats are literally speaking for themselves. It's actually a favoritism. It must be a favoritism.
Putting up numbers like this usually results in winning games and winning an MVP. Most of the players near the top of this list have earned the award for their efforts. Kareem missed out on the award in 1973, but he already won back-to-back MVPs in the previous 2 seasons. James Harden came in second in 2019, but he already won the award in the previous season as well. Luka, on the other hand, seems to be suffering from a rare case of voter fatigue before winning any awards. Raising the bar to first-team All-NBA in just your sophomore season means every year after that must be even better if you really want to captivate an audience. And Luka has gotten better every single season. So maybe he's just not winning enough games. The unwritten rule about the MVP award has always been that you not only need to be great, but your team needs to be great. But this isn't always the case.
The Mavs are upgrading, bro. We've upgraded. We made some great changes. We are looking beautiful. But I do not know if we have enough strength to pull the chip this year. However, I'm willing to bet on it. So,
in fact, recently, it's hardly the case. And voters have not shied away from rewarding exceptional
I always believe in the Luka Magic,
even if it didn't result in overall team success. In 1987, after just over 2 seasons in the league, Michael Jordan finished second in MVP voting ahead of generational talents and vets of the 80s, despite closing the season with a record below 500 and finishing the season on a stretch of 15 losses in 23 games. He was young, he was unproven, and yet voters were still so enamored by his individual dominance that they just looked past the lack of team success. One argument you can make for this season is the fact that it happened nearly 40 years ago in a league where numbers like this were unheard of. But a similar case of crazy numbers and individual performance outweighing overall team performance just happened again a couple seasons ago. In 2022, Nikola Jokic won the league MVP after finishing the season with just 48 wins and the 6th seed in the West. His numbers were incredible and his advanced metrics were even better. In fact, he was so good that the lackluster 48-win total
Joker was bussing for the parlays. He was bussing for the parlays this year, chat.
was a bit of an afterthought for many voters. The only thing is, this season, the Mavericks are on pace to winning 48 games as well. And as loaded as Jokic's stat line was in that 2022 MVP campaign, Luka's numbers are just about as good this season.
Let's take a look at this, chat. Analyze. We got Luka with 34.1, Joker with 27.1 points per game, okay? Luka with 9 rebounds, Joker with 13.8. We expect Joker to be higher on that. Assists per game, Luka 9.8, Joker 7.9, 1.6 steals per game, 1.5. Blocks per game, of course, Joker is going to take that. Also at 48 wins. Come on now. There's no way, bro. They're actually They're actually pranking.
How does one of these seasons earn a player his second consecutive MVP, and the other hardly even earn a player a spot on the MVP leaderboard? But I think the most glaring case of a player winning over voters with a historic individual season was back in 2017, when Russell Westbrook lit the whole league on fire for 81 games and averaged a 30-point triple-double for an entire season. This was just 7.
I'm not like a crazy Russ like fan, but I know that, yo, we all know what Russ can do. Whether you're a fan or not, whether you like him or not, yo, Russ is that guy. And in 2017, Russ, he was definitely hooping. That nigga was putting numbers up.
And it's already easy to forget just how inconceivable this was at the time. There is not a person on earth who thought a player could average a triple-double for an entire season. So when Westbrook pulled it off, the MVP award had his name on it, and rightfully so. But the Thunder finished with the 6th seed and just 47 wins. In fact, James Harden and Kawhi Leonard both had strong cases to be the most valuable player in the league that season. So again,
Harden,
what has changed between then and now? How did we go from being so captivated with a stat line like this to just casually brushing aside a similar season?
Nigga, he's damn near doing it, chat. Like, the numbers are speaking, bro. Come on. Oh, my gosh. With more team wins.
Just 7 years. But Westbrook's triple-double season in 2017 didn't just shatter our ideas of what were possible from an individual player. His season completely altered the way MVP voting works altogether.
How so?
Up until Westbrook's 2017 season, the MVP award was virtually the best player on the best team award. If your team wasn't the first seed or on occasion the second seed going into the playoffs, your chances of winning the award were almost non-existent. From 1988 to 2016, 23 of 29 regular season MVPs went to players who led their team to the best record in their conference. 5 of the 29 MVPs went to players who earned the second seed, and only 1 went to a player who didn't lead their team to a top 2 seed. But with Westbrook's MVP in 2017, voters of the award, and fans in general, almost recalibrated the way they approached the discussion of who the most valuable player in the league can be and what is required of them. Because 4 of the last 7 MVPs finished the season with the 3rd seed or lower. This season, Jokic is favored to win the award, and the Nuggets are...
Yo, this is, I'm not gonna lie, Jimmy, this is a little small. Hold on. Okay, we could zoom, chat. We could zoom. So we got Mike. Who is that? Magic? Mike. Charles Barkley. Yeah, let's get out of the old heads. Timmy D. Steve Nash, KG. Dirk. 2007. Let's go, Dirk. Ah! KD. Yeah, nah, them niggas was hooping though, I'm not gonna lie. All these niggas was hooping.
Pace to finishing the season with the 3rd seed as well. Something that only occurred once in 37 seasons and required the best player of all time to put up the best individual season of his career is about to happen for the 5th time in just 8 years. It's almost as if overnight we all realized that winning the most games is not the end-all be-all to what makes a player the most valuable.
Bro, that's not what makes a player the most valuable, bro. Team wins has nothing to do with... I feel like that should have nothing to do with the MVP award. I mean, it shows a little bit of something. It does show something. That was a bad take. It does show something. But, like, in a way, it doesn't. You know what I mean? You should have a good amount of team wins if you are a good player. But at some point, there's only so much you can do for the team. You know what I mean? Like Kate Cunningham, for example. That nigga, he be hooping. He be putting up numbers. But there's so much he could do for his team, the Detroit Pistons. That's why they have the record that they do.
NBA fan posted this on Reddit. And reading it is almost like jumping into a time machine and traveling into the past. He goes on to list the last 30 MVP winners and the seed they earned going into the playoffs, recognizing the correlation between winning the most games and winning the MVP. And he posted this with a note at the end that tells you everything you need to know about how the award worked just 10 years ago. I put this on here so people hopefully stop making unlikely MVP predictions. No, Anthony Davis is not going to lead the Pelicans to the 5th seed and win MVP. And the comments on this thread are just as
know who said
insightful
that.
as the post itself. So is it really an MVP award? In theory, yes, but maybe it's more of a best player on the best team. Players do not win MVPs getting 6th seeds, overwhelming majority of the time, because this is a superstar league and superstars get top seeds. And this fan is right, or at least he was, 10 years ago. So why did we
Literally
make
10 years
exceptions
ago.
for other players and continue to do so,
Nigga
but
said,
we hold
nah.
Luka to such a strict standard? If the Mavs
Bro, it's because Luka puts up such immaculate numbers, like, and does such amazing things every game that when he has a bad game, it's so surprising. You know what I mean? It's surprising not to see the Luka magic when you're just used to seeing it, and it's taken for granted. Such greatness is taken for granted. You know what I mean?
a nice stretch of wins to close out the season and finish with, let's say, 53 wins instead of 48, finished with the 4th seed instead of the 6th, would that really help Luka's case? The
Yes,
Mavs could
most
have an
likely.
easy
They're
schedule
gonna
to
start
close out the
dragging.
season. Kyrie could go on a tear. The team could get into a rhythm and earn a higher seed, and Luka could be playing at the same level he did all season. But since they're
Josh
winning more
Green, I don't think
games,
he's
none
gonna-
of which
he's not
had
coming
anything
back.
to do with Luka playing better, he would miraculously have a better case for the MVP. I know this is how it works. This is the nature of this award. But it's still a bit odd that there is so much weight put into some factors when considering who the most valuable player in the league is. And the season Luka is having in particular is shining a massive light on this irrational way of going about this. Is Jason Tatum more valuable than Luka this season?
Hell
You
no.
could make the argument, and I'm sure there's a lot of people who would,
Heck no.
including the NBA's MVP leaderboard.
Oh my
And yet,
God.
Luka has been more
What?
valuable
Are you
this
kidding
season,
me? No way, fam. Bro. I don't know who like did the MVP leaderboard. Nah, they're wind glazing. They're actually wind glazing. Either that or they're the Boston Celtics #1 fan, bro. They have to be.
To
Whoever
virtually
did that
every
MVP
single
leaderboard is
metric
actually
other
not
than
right
win
in that.
totals. Jason Tatum has missed 5 games this season, and in those games, the Celtics have outscored their opponents by 77 points. This
What?
season, Luka has missed 8 games, and in those games, the Mavericks have been outscored by 47 points. When
Happens.
Jason
We
Tatum
need
isn't
Luka's
on the
40
court,
goals.
the Celtics are plus 10.1 points per 100 possessions this season. When Luka isn't on the court, the Mavericks are minus 2.8 points per 100 possessions this season. When
Niggas said they don't need Tatum. Like, bro, Tatum, I don't know what they're trying to say right here, man. But
isn't on the court, the Celtics are still really good. When Luka isn't on the court, the Mavericks are terrible. To look at how many wins a team has as the driving factor for the MVP race neglects how teams even got those wins and how much the best player on that team is contributing to those.
when we don't have Luka, though, we have Kyrie, which is a good thing. Because Kyrie goes ham. I don't know, nigga said ham. Kyrie goes absolutely bonkers, bro. He be doing his thing when Luka's not here. He knows what to do. He knows what he has to do, bro.
Now, this season might actually be a case of the league getting a
good.
whole lot better, or maybe just the stats getting better, rather than voters and fans appreciating
Everything's
different
getting
aspects of the game and its players than they did in the past. The threshold for what it takes to make,
Love it.
let's say, an all-NBA team, earn the label of superstar, and win the league's MVP has been raised so high that a player could have a one-of-one,
JB.
unprecedented season and not even get a mention as one of the league's best players. A great case of this is Domantas Sabonis, who is averaging 20 points, 13 rebounds, and 8 assists a game right now.
Yo, they really did Sabonis dirty. Bro wasn't even an all-star. Come on now. That's how you know something isn't right. Luka's barely an MVP. Sabonis didn't get an all-star.
And he wasn't even selected as an all-star
That's
this
crazy.
season. These are not empty stats. He's not a product of the system he plays in. He is a certified star. But since there's a guy in the league who can do all of this and more, he ends up being unjustly labeled as the watered-down version of Nikola Jokic. It feels a
Niggas
bit
do be
surreal that
jacking
we
that.
live in a
It's
time where a
crazy.
player like Luka
Sabonis is
Doncic
really
exists,
over.
with numbers like these, and the MVP award isn't already boxed up and on the way to his house as we speak.
Chat, if you haven't watched a Luka game, bro, just go and watch one, bro. Oh my gosh. I watch every single Mavs game, obviously. And I'll never stop, chat. I'll never stop supporting this man, chat. It's a blood bond, chat. We're in this together. Me and Luka. I'm gonna replay for this step back.
These, and the MVP award isn't already boxed up and on the way to his house as we speak. And this realization is less about Luka and more about the big picture of the league right now. It's hard for me to wrap my mind around how much things have changed, and even harder to grasp how quickly they have changed.
Oh my God.
How can he be this trailing behind multiple other players? If it wasn't for Embiid getting hurt, Luka could very well not even be within the top 5 on the MVP leaderboard, while averaging nearly a 34-point triple-double and being on pace for 48 wins. Which begs the question, what would a player in Luka's position need to do to win the MVP? With the 6th seed, an underwhelming supporting cast, and a handful of generational superstars to contend with, what would be the equivalent to the 2017 Westbrook triple-double season in 2024? Where the numbers are just too absurd to ignore.
Chat, the numbers are already too absurd to ignore. Yo, Jimmy, you got to throw some Daniel Gafford clips in there, bro. Like, he's been bugging with DG. Daniel Gafford, our new center, oh my God, he's a dog.
8, 10, and 10, maybe 40 points, 12 rebounds, and 12 assists a night on league-high efficiency. It sounds like hyperbole, but it's not. How good do you have to be to win the MVP in today's NBA? When you put the bar as high as Luka did at such a young age, how much higher would you need to go for it to be impossible for fans and voters to ignore your efforts? Or is the MVP award still just the best player on the best team award?
Best player on the best team award. Chat, you tell me, man, because there's no way that this man should not be winning the MVP award.